Hey everybody, a lot has happened since October 7th, 2023. I've barely been uploading since then. We'll get to it all. I'll catch you up. One of the things though that happened was I hurt my vocal cords. It deserves a video of its own. I'll explain how I did that. It's taken me a long time to heal, so I'm going to be speaking a little bit quieter, a little bit gentler, a little bit slower, if I remember, because that's how I need to heal. So I got a question that I get often, and it's one of those life questions that I think most of us have had at one point or another, and it's very relatable, and it's very painful. And so the question is something like this. Hi, Avi. I have some sort of mental health issue, life problem, family problem, poverty problem, fill in the blank problem, and I tried to solve it. And I did A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I'm still here and I still have the problem. And don't say I didn't try to work in it because I tried this and I tried that and I tried that. And how do I know when I should give up? And how do I know if I didn't try enough? And what does God want from me that I have this problem and I can't seem to shake this problem? So this is the question that's so existential and so philosophical and so deep that I've gotten over and over and over the years. So here's a video about that. Now, if I'm not careful, I can make this video 3 hours long, and maybe there's nothing wrong with that, but my technology and schedule today are not set up for that. So where do we even begin with such a big question? We all have challenges in life. And when I say all of us, I mean every single human being. Whether you're rich, poor, healthy, ill, orphaned, or in a big family with parents, everybody has challenges. And life is full of suffering. And I say that in the best way, and I don't mean it's bad. It's actually healing and calming to hear that. I think the lie that a lot of psychotherapists sell is there's this thing called therapy, and just buy it and you will instantly get better. It's magic. In blank amount of sessions, or with this magical model that we have, or manually driven protocol, evidence-based practice, we can make it as if you have no pain, no suffering, and all your problems go away. Now, of course, I believe that therapy is helpful and it's important, but I don't think it's what people make it to be. So I think therapy is good when we look at it with some humility, and what's lacking is humility. It's humility that's lacking on the part of the psychiatrists, the psychologists, the clinical social workers, the researchers, the people writing books and promising huge promises that don't easily come. Okay? I have no problem with therapy. I'm being very clear so I don't get misquoted. I think it saves lives. I think it's amazing. I think it's a privilege. I think not everybody can afford it or access it. I think it saved my life. But we need to talk about it accurately. Okay? So, therapy is great, but it's not everything. Now, if you go to a therapist who understands you, and if you have a good therapeutic relationship, and they're competent in helping you with whatever problem that it is you think you have, and you're still not getting better, why don't you just ask your therapist, hey, I've been here X amount of sessions. How do I know if this is working? When do we try something else? When do I leave? You're the customer. I'm from America. In America, they taught us the customer is always right. That's why you have great customer service in America. Unlike other countries, many other countries. I'm not going to say names. So the customer is always right. It's your job, responsibility, and right as a client to go to your therapist and say, hey, before we even begin, how do I know you're the right one? Have you ever helped somebody with this before? What are going to be the signs that are going to let us know that this is helpful, that this is working, and how are we going to know if it's not working and I should leave? You should be asking those questions. Okay? Big topic. The internet has lots of videos on that. Fine. If it works, great. But how do you measure works? That's another topic that I think doesn't have a lot of videos on the internet. What does it mean if therapy works, or if you're working on yourself in another way? Maybe you're working on yourself with medication, you're working on yourself with yoga and mindfulness, mantras. It goes on and on. The internet's filled with things that you could do to use to work on yourself. How do you know if it's working? So I realistically think we have to measure success in very small increments. Obviously, in relation to the severity of the problem we're talking about. If we're talking about a very simple problem and you can't seem to shake it for 5 years, maybe it's because you got bad advice, right? But presumably we're talking to somebody watching this video right now who has this unshakable, pervasive, painful, difficult life issue. And no matter what they do, they just can't seem to get it away. And it's getting in the way of their life roles, and it's causing them dysfunction and sadness and despair. That's really who I'm gearing this video for, right? So maybe you met that therapist, or did your yoga, or did your, natural vitamin drops, and you smelled flowers enough, and whatever you did, and maybe it helped you 10% this year more than last year. How do you even measure that? But that's the thing, is you need to be like a businessman and operationalize your problem and what it looks like and how often you do your problem and how intense it is, and then measure your growth out of this problem. And so for all you know, you're actually being successful, you're putting in a lot of good work, and you're growing 10% every year, and maybe over a 10-year period, you will see a 100% reduction. By the way, I don't even think that's realistic. I think the timeline sometimes is longer when we work on a problem, and it could take you 30, 40, 50 years to work on a problem. There are going to be some problems you can never get out of, but at the same time, you can reduce the pain, the dysfunction, and your despair and your lack of acceptance of the problem. You can reduce all of that, and so maybe you'll have this problem your whole life, but maybe you'll have it at a 50% pain capacity instead of 100% pain. So maybe that's good. Maybe if you get really good at managing this problem and learning how to live life with this problem, you can have it for 50, 60, 70 years, and it's only getting half in your way. And maybe if it's only half in your way, it's not such a big deal. And I live this way. I live with many pervasive, difficult problems. I'm a very dysfunctional person. If you fly me to a vacation and put me in a hotel and we go to Switzerland for 2 weeks and you observe me, you will see I am a very dysfunctional person. You may not know that only because I manage it very well. Okay? So you might have a problem your whole life, but manage it well, and that's a win. That is a win. So we're not aiming for symptom reduction, and we're not aiming for 100% getting rid of something. We're aiming for growth. Maybe growth is you have the same pain, but you have more acceptance. You have more insight. You have more wisdom. You're more spiritual. So there's so many ways to view this differently than, oh man, I've been trying to get out of my binge eating disorder problem for 4 years and I'm in the same place. Are you really in the same place? You used to binge 5 times a week and now it's only 2 times a week. That sounds like an increase to me in health and well-being, right? So it's dynamic. I can't get too into the details of this, but that's my blueprint for you. That's the general idea, is you got to know who to go to, right? Because there's all sorts of quacks and useless help out there and damaging help out there. But even if you have the right person and even if you do all the right things, how do you measure getting better? And maybe it takes a long time. I could tell you that I worked on some problems for 5 years and I got better enough that I'm satisfied. I worked on other problems for 10 years, 20 years, and I got better enough that I'm satisfied. Okay? I'm satisfied. I'm happy. I have gratitude. I'm spiritual. And I still have problems, I promise you. Last night I was really depressed. I was just deflated lying in bed. But that happens very infrequently. But if you look at when I was age 20 and I wanted to kill myself and I was very depressed in a very dangerous way and I couldn't function, it's different, right? So the fact that I get depressed for an hour every few months is pretty good, right? So I'm satisfied, I'm happy. That's part of this discussion. Now, sometimes we work really, really hard, end quote, and we don't get anywhere because we're not listening to our therapist, we're not being honest with them, we're not doing the work. We have all these lovely conversations, but they ask us to take certain practical steps, and we don't take them. They ask us to go be brave and have courage and do a certain thing, and we don't do that thing. So you might be in the same spot for a long time if you're stubborn about that, if you're afraid about that. What do you do about that issue? Maybe find some courage. Learn what courage is. Maybe read some poems, listen to some songs that inspire you. Go to somebody that is a great person that can hold your hand through this experience, and maybe that will help you. They'll cheerlead you on, they'll give you encouragement. There's different ways of going about it, but you got to do the work. If you don't do the work, just talking to somebody and paying them money every single week isn't going to make you better. So that is another piece of this as well. Now another piece, and I have to finish this soon because I have somebody coming and we got to talk about something important. So I'm just going to wrap this up fast. Then you'll say, what does God want from me? I could talk 3 hours just on this, and there's not a lot of videos on this too. I think God wants you to be who you are with this problem. You know how I know that? Because he made you with this problem. So let's say you have a pervasive anxiety problem, and maybe your parents have it and your grandparents have it, so you were born into chaos. Who made you that way? God. So you literally were created by God with a blemish, with a problem, with a mental health issue, okay? Maybe it was certain circumstances that you then developed the problem later, right? Maybe you were beaten up or victimized by somebody and now you have dissociative identity disorder. Or maybe it's a terrible relationship to time and you just can't figure out your schedule, and maybe it's severe focus issues and you can't get anything done. Whatever it is, you were born into chaos. You were handed this problem by God. So I think and believe deeply in my heart that you are meant to live with this in order to do God's work. And I can get all religious now, and I can quote 20 religious sources for this, but I'm going to cut that out right now because on this channel we speak to all sorts of people around the world, all sorts of religions, so we'll keep that out for now. But I believe God made you with this problem, and the only way you can grow and reach your full potential is with this problem. If you didn't have this problem, you won't end up becoming who you're meant to be. And that may be hard to hear, but we got to work on acceptance. And if we don't have a system of meaning in our life, then that's going to be a hard pill to swallow. I think I said pillow, not pillow. Don't swallow a pillow. But it will be a hard pill to swallow, right? But if you have a system of meaning and you make meaning out of things, it's a very meaningful adventure and journey that you have this problem that you cannot shake. And maybe you improve it 3% a year, or you kind of live better around the problem, but the problem itself just stays and gets stuck there, okay? That's meant to put you on a journey and make you become a certain person. I want to tell you a story. Maybe we'll end with this story. When I was 20 years younger, I was really, really not doing well. There was once a very inspirational, great man that came to speak in my school. And I believed he had the answers to my questions because nobody seems to be suffering as much as me. Nobody seems to have been put behind the 8 ball as much as me. I looked all around. I didn't see anybody suffering on my level of suffering and struggling to get through the day minute by minute like me. And when this man came, I said, he's going to know the answer to my questions. So when he was done giving his speech in my school, everybody was going to line up and ask their questions. And so I said, this is a matter of life and death. I need to be the first one to ask this question because he might leave early. This is life and death. there's no decorum here. I jumped over a table. Listen to how desperate I was. I jumped over a table to speak to this man. His name was Rabbi Tzvi Meyer Zilverberg, in case you want to know. I jumped over a table and cut the line, which I would never do today, but when you feel that you're dying, your behavior is a little bit different, and that's what I felt. And so I was first in line, and I asked him, I said, if only I had the perfect finances and family and friends and schedule and school and health and body and whatever, then I could serve God and be devoted and be a good person and a good friend and a good son to my parents, and I could just do everything perfectly because I would have all the things that I need. But I feel I was not given the conditions that I need to serve God. I just was given the worst set of everything, and I just can't get anything done. I'm always busy putting out fires. I'm busy trying to eke out and survive throughout the day. This makes no sense. What am I supposed to do with this? So listen to what he answered me. He said to me in an emphatic way, and I still remember, he said, no, like that. It was a bit like, whoa, no. And this is a very gentle man, but for my own sake, he was like, no. Only with these circumstances will you ever become the great person you're meant to become, and there's no other way. And if you were given more wealth, a better body, better family, better school, whatever it is that you thought you needed, that's actually going to stray you from your path. The only way you will become complete and create this potential of who you're meant to be and become this person that you're supposed to wind up being is this path, this painful, hard path. And there's a lot we can talk about and advice we can give and things you can do and ways to make it easier, but it's only this path. I'm going to end the video now by telling you to look up something called The Hero with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell, and something called The Hero's Journey. And the idea of the hero's journey is basically that an anthropologist many years ago went around the entire world, many decades ago, asking every culture, who is the hero in your culture? What hero stories do they share? Whether you're from Aztec culture, whether you're from Japan, whether you're from New Guinea, Papua New Guinea, wherever you're from, who are the great people they talk about in the myths that they tell? And then he plotted their journey to try to see if there's a common denominator between the heroes we talk about in America, the ones that we talk about in, Guadalupe, and the ones that we talk about in, Jordan. Are they the same themes or not? And they found out in this study that actually there's something called the hero's journey, and there's a discussion of how many steps are in the hero's journey. So this is a fun thing if you want to ask ChatGPT, watch videos on it. But basically, it follows these steps. Once upon a time, there's an ordinary, run-of-the-mill person, and that's you. A very relatable person, okay? In the case of Star Wars, it's Luke Skywalker. Many famous movies that went viral and were very popular were actually based on scripting of the components of the hero's journey. Also Harry Potter and other books, series, videos, and that's why people love them so much, relate to them so much. Okay, so Luke Skywalker, or me, Avi Tenenbaum, boring, run-of-the-mill person with not too interesting circumstances. And then, God forbid, something terrible happens. Right? So in the case of Luke Skywalker, aside that he's adopted, and that's bad enough, but then his step-parents get murdered by the Empire. So it's just as bad as can be. And now it forces you into a journey, into a battle that you weren't looking to fight. And so Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, and I'm talking about the real Star Wars, by the way, not the fake ones that they made later. Yes, I'm bashing them. But number 4, 5, and 6, right? Luke Skywalker is forced to fight the Empire and to take revenge and to figure out who his family is now and where to live and all these things. And he wasn't looking for this. And it's so painful and it's tragic and it's terrible. Then he finds out his father is a mass murderer that killed billions of people. It just gets worse and worse by the minute, right? But eventually through this process, he becomes a Jedi. A very spiritual, great person with an incredible purpose that saves lives and helps other people. And then eventually he has inner peace and he understands why this was justified. Okay? So I'm sitting in a chair that a kid was once sitting in my office. He was 20 years old. I'm going to quote him because I can never say this. I once had a kid sitting in the chair I'm sitting in right now whose mom died of cancer when he was young. And somebody's knocking on my door, so I got to finish. It's not a client, but I still got to finish. Where was I? Yeah, there was a kid, 20 years old, sitting in the chair that I'm sitting in now, whose mom died of cancer when he was like 13, 14 years old. He watched her die, slowly die over the years. He took care of her and she died, okay? Terrible, unspeakable. I still have a mother. I'm grateful. I have a father. I can't relate to that, okay? And he said, at age 18 or 19, he said to me, he said, Avi, I would never wish upon anybody to watch their mother die slowly of cancer over the years. Ever. But, I have to be honest with you, this experience has helped me grow. And it taught me incredible things. And it made me a better person. And it's worth it. Not worth it in the way that I would wish my mother to die. But once it already happened, it was a gift in a way that you would never expect. And that's what we call in professional language post-traumatic growth. Big topic, okay? But the point of our video was that we don't look for trouble. We don't look for mental health issues. We don't look for poverty. We don't look to be an orphan. But sometimes God chooses that for us because he knows exactly what we need. And we don't. And we think we do. That's part of the problem. And then we get led down a path that we don't think we can survive. And we do whatever we can, and we try our best, because you always have to try your best. And you learn about courage, and you learn about perseverance, you learn about tenacity, you learn about grit. Those are 4 words I don't hear people using. So go rewind, hear what those are, learn about them, tell everybody about them. Tell them Avi Tenenbaum said to learn those words. Learn about resilience. And then you will be on your journey and you will become the person that you were supposed to become, that this challenge was supposed to make you be. So can we fix all of our symptoms, and should we try therapy 3 times and 4 times and 5 times? You know what? That's a personal choice. You want to try it again? Try it again. Want to try somebody else? Great. You want to try a different modality? Great. If something keeps not working, probably you should try something else. Fine. Look at alternative things, Eastern things, whatever it is. But all I know is life is hard. God sends us challenges. It creates us into being different people and wielding potential we never would have had and fostering growth that we didn't think is possible. Stay in the game. Be resilient. And you will become the most beautiful version that you're meant to be and have a system of meaning. And you will see why this had to be. And you will connect to the meaning, and you will be grateful. Now, I'm not saying it will be easy all the time once you get there, because it's still going to be hard, because life is still going to be full of pain and suffering, but you're going to appreciate it. You're going to understand it. You're going to have gratitude. I'm saying this from experience, okay? I'm saying it from my experience, from the experience of everybody else. I hope you found this video helpful. When I make a video, think of people that suffer all the time and can't shake a certain problem, and everything they seem to try doesn't work. So I was thinking about that type of person when I made this video. If you relate to this, and if you have a friend or 2 or 3 like that, send them the video, because that would give me meaning and purpose. That would make me feel like this was time well spent. Thank you so much. I wish you such luck and God's help on your journey. It should go well for you, and have a good day. Be well. Bye-bye.